My name is Ali and I'm the Ship and Facilities Director for Dundee Heritage Trust. So we're excited to announce that Phase 2 of the urgent works is now in operation, and that will address some real serious issues on the ship. The bulwarks, the stanchions and outer hull planking that all has some serious degradation on it. So we're now working on having that repaired, replaced only where we need to. We'll restore as much of the original timbers as possible, but we are going to have to remove some quite substantial pieces. We're going to remain open the entire time, so it's a fantastic chance to see some amazing shipwright work being carried out on the ship. But the main thing is that at the end of this project, the ship will be in the best condition it's been since 1925, when it had its last major refit. And for a ship that's now coming up to 125 years since she was built, it's really, really important these works are done to conserve the ship as much as possible. So what I'll do is I'll take you on board and show you some of the areas that we are going to address in this next phase. It can be quite scary seeing what has happened to the ship over the years, some of the issues that we have, but it's fantastic to know that this phase is going to address those and leave the ship in a fantastic condition. Follow me. So the work that will be addressed in the next phase of works, as I said, includes the bulwarks and stanchions. So for those who don't know, these are the bulwarks and the stanchions are the uprights. And you don't need me to point out that some of them are in very bad condition. So this one in particular, a temporary repair being carried out many years ago, and that involved using modern materials and packing fillers. What that meant was the timbers couldn't breathe. So instead of working as a temporary repair, it actually exacerbated the problem. So all of that has been removed. So while this does look in quite poor condition now, it is still doing its job, but this is one of the ones that will be replaced as part of the project. It does go quite far down through the hull, so it does mean outer planking will have to be removed as well to allow access. So there will be times when the ship's quite exposed, but it also gives you a fantastic chance to see the framing of the ship and how it was built, how the design work came through. So I think it is actually a really fantastic chance to come and see it while that work's being carried out, but then it will leave it in a really, really good condition once it's finished. Discovery means Dundee to me. It was the catalyst for the regeneration of the city. It was the first part of the waterfront regeneration all those years ago, and it's still the icon of the city. And I think that people are very proud that the ship came from Dundee, and even more proud to have the ship here.
Hi, I'm Emma Halford-Forbes. I'm the Heritage Director here at Dundee Heritage Trust. So the reason we're doing this project, why it's so important, is to help preserve the integrity of the RRS Discovery for future generations. We had a survey done 6 years ago that identified key areas that needed work, particularly in the stern area, to help support the ship. We've done some of that work in Phase 1, funded by the National Heritage Memorial Fund, and that has successfully completed. We're now moving on to Phase 2, funded by several partners, including the National Lottery Heritage Fund and the Northwood Charitable Trust. So the reason that it's important to preserve the ship, not only for Dundee, but for the nation as well, and there's a few reasons. One was in 1901 when the ship was launched, to not a lot of fanfare. It was just another ship, I think, at that point. But she then went on to become famous as the first purpose-built Antarctic research vessel and had an illustrious career laying down some of the baseline for climate science that we do today. And then became famous because of her links to Scott, who was the captain on the 1901-04 expedition. And of course, nowadays, Shackleton, his first trip as a second lieutenant down to Antarctica, first of 4 trips to Antarctica. And of course, Shackleton's become very famous today. I think the other reason that the ship's important to Dundee, 40 years ago when the ship came back to the city, it was the beginning, the first step in a renaissance for the city, the first part of the redevelopment of the waterfront here, and this was the first kind of keystone to start that redevelopment. So the ship's really important for the city for both those reasons. I think it means family to me. I did find a picture of me and my dad and my brother here, I think probably the year that Discovery Point opened, which was nice to remember back to that family holiday. But also family now. I'm bringing my son here. He loves coming here. He stopped calling it a pirate ship, but he has just always been so inspired by the ship and the size and the way that it looks and exploring all the wee nooks and crannies. So for me, yeah, it's family.
Hi, I'm Jason Struthers of JPS Restoration and Consultancy, and it's great to know that we are now back here for a further 2 years to keep going on with our project. The first phase has been amazing learning curves, amazing opportunities. Phase 2 will throw up its own future tasks, I'm sure, but wonderful plans for the future in the next 2 years. Personally, it's an amazing opportunity to develop my skills, develop the skills of the company. It's just the opportunity that it gives itself. You struggle to get that in other places. The luxury of being involved in something like this, that from decades onwards, we can come back and visit, and hundreds of people can come back and visit, is amazing. It's just so proud to be involved with that. But yeah, it's a good ship to work on, good project teams. It's just, can't ask for any better, really.
My name is John Monasta. I'm Associate Director at Beckett Rankin. We are maritime heritage consultants and experts in conservation of historic vessels. We've been involved with Discovery and the Dundee Heritage Trust since 2020 and been working on the long-term conservation of the vessel. We've developed plans for her long-term conservation that have informed the works that have been ongoing on the vessel since 2024 and now have moved into the phase 2, which are relating to the repairs to the port hull and the design and construction of a new supporting structure for the vessel moving forward in the future. Now, I'm a naval architect by background, so I studied ship design and ship repair, but I'm really passionate about this industry because actually it's where engineering started, really. When I was quite young, I quite liked Victorian engineering. I thought the Victorian engineers had a lot more scope and ambition than we have nowadays. So actually working on these structures and working on the legacy that they left us is quite interesting and quite, a real source of inspiration. And actually, it's technically more challenging because, funny enough, we know less about the works they did, the methods they used, and the processes to build these structures now than they did at the time. So actually, there's a big process of rediscovery and reinventing, and they're really, really interesting jobs. And I'm really lucky to have kind of found this industry, this avenue, really.